Hello, my name is Sue Atkins and I'm the parenting expert for ITV This Morning, Disney Family, BBC Radio, and I'm the author of Parenting Made Easy, How to Raise Happy Children, as well as the Can Do Kids Journal, Discover Your Confident Superpower. So today I'm going to be looking at parenting under pressure because we live under very unusual circumstances and we always have lots of pressure as parents. So in this little chat, I shall be talking to you about understanding your child's well-being and how it's closely linked to your well-being. I'll be looking at ways to invest in me time, we time, and our time. I'll be talking to you about how to reduce your stress levels and some tips for that. And I'll be looking at healthy ways to handle anger and also talking about 5 ways to your well-being as a parent. So let's start. Children's well-being is closely linked to your well-being. And that's a really important person, and that person is you. And as parents, whether you're a single parent or whether you're a mum or a dad or a carer, we all want to do what's best for our children, don't we? We want to keep them safe, we want to keep them fit, and we want to keep them well. However, it's very easy to forget about our own health and our own well-being. And a positive attitude and a good social outlook encourages us all to have a healthy lifestyle and strong mental health. Now, family life plays an important role in the well-being of both yourself as well as your children. So doing something active and creative together can really boost your happiness and your well-being levels all round. So it's very important that you get some me time. As we all know, mums and dads aren't particularly good at that. You need to also think about we time, which I'll be talking about in a minute, and also our time, which is all about where you come together as a family regularly to chat, to laugh, to talk, to play, to have fun. Now, we all live in a very busy, hectic world, so we have to make time for each other. And kids on tech retreat into their rooms, don't they, or to their own world practically on it, and they hide away sometimes. And now we can all watch different programs on different devices and in different rooms. So it has to be a conscious choice to come together in one simple way. Perhaps one simple thing to do is to eat together. And that brings us together. And it doesn't have to be every single night, but perhaps on a Friday night as a wind down, perhaps from the busy week, or, perhaps over a takeaway or chatting over a Sunday lunch. Because through making new traditions in your home and in your house, like having bacon sandwiches on a Saturday after a bike ride, the whole family comes together, has some fun, relaxes and connects. And that's what's really important. So it's about creating simple routines that make a very big difference over time. And it's not about nagging, about holding the knife and fork properly and about, eating up all your broccoli, but it's about chatting and laughing and sharing. And as I said before, connecting. Because when families come together, they share in each other's lives and they know what's worrying their children, what frightens them, what excites them, or what makes them happy. Because eating together is a very sociable way of building memories that last a lifetime. But it also builds strong mental health and well-being as children feel listened to, they feel heard, and they feel loved. It also builds their self-esteem because they feel important, that you're showing them that you love them because you want to spend time with them. But eating, playing, talking and reading together with your kids also strengthens their mental health and your well-being too, because you feel loved, you feel nurtured, you feel listened to, and you feel understood too, hopefully. So how are you feeling right now? Take a pause to ponder a moment and just tap into yourself. I want you to rate on a 1 to 10 scale. How are you feeling? 10 is very stressed, 0 is very chilled. Because it's important to notice sometimes and take a sort of pause to ponder moment fairly regularly to tap into yourself. Right, write it down so you know where it is. And I want you to commit to doing something about it right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. I want you to commit to making one small change that will make a very big difference to your well-being this week and for the weeks to come. You do that? Good. Let's look at me time. We're always so busy, and when you're fit and well, you're in a good place to look after your children. But it's easy to forget to look after yourself. We always put other people ahead of ourselves. But if you're running on empty, then you haven't really got enough to give. So the realities of juggling, family life isn't easy. But I want you to sort of think about simple things that give you pleasure. Because if you're feeling enjoyable and life is good, then you're more fun to be with and your kids will enjoy being with you more and they pick up your vibes. So I want you to think about what small thing, it doesn't have to be expensive. Is it something like a bath with scented candles or bubbles? Is it going for a jog? Is it reading a trashy magazine in the garden? Whatever it is to help you relax, because that's very important, to give yourself me time so that you've got something else to give the kids. A bit like putting an oxygen mask on your mouth if you're in an aeroplane. Not that we're going on those all the time nowadays, but you can then look after your child because you've taken good care of yourself. So I want you to think about what you eat, how much you exercise, how you look after yourself. And that will, of course, influence your child's own attitudes to health, to fitness, and to well-being too, because they're going to be looking at you, noticing you, observing you, learning from you in what you do and in what you say, because you're your child's primary role model, as I said. Now, healthy eating gives you plenty of energy because you need it during the day, and it keeps your body nourished and so that it runs at its peak. So preparing balanced meals might sound like a big ask when you're a busy parent, but once you know what foods give you the nutrients that you need, it's much easier actually to choose good foods and eat well when you go shopping and when you're cooking from home. So how about investing in a really good family cookbook? Nothing too complicated, but if you plan your healthy meals over the course of a week, perhaps ahead of time, if you commit to drinking perhaps a pint of water first thing in the morning, small things that build up into healthy habits. Perhaps you could walk every day for an hour or half an hour. If you've got dogs, take them out a bit further than you normally do. Just incrementally building up so it doesn't feel like a big deal. Because staying active increases your energy levels and makes you feel better. And getting out into the fresh air, into the sunshine, or even just getting out into nature lifts your spirits, boosts endorphins and serotonin, and gives you a lift and you feel better. So how about going for a good old walk later on today, or, thinking about something that you can put into your routines that would help you feel that you're getting some exercise and getting out in the fresh air. I actually bought a bike, so I go out on my bike now and really enjoy it. Not setting myself enormous goals, just having some fun with it. But it's new exercise for me and I'm really enjoying it. So small things build up to big things because movements matter. So commit to 30 minutes here right now and see if that will help your feeling of taking away some of the pressures on you, because it releases your feel-good hormones. Now, me time could actually be the best hours that you give not only yourself, but your whole family. Because as we know, parenting is wonderfully fulfilling, it's rewarding and it's joyful, but it's also exhausting and it's frustrating and it's overwhelming as well at times. So as a parent, you're often the linchpin for your whole family. And if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you're a bit snappy, then the chances are your whole family will be picking up on that and they'll all be a bit tense. They might be treading on eggshells and they take their lead from you and they pick up on your vibes. So make sure you are chilled, relaxed, positive and encouraging. And one of the first things I encourage the parents that I work with on my one-to-ones or in my workshops is to remember what you Tap into why you enjoy your children, why you had them, because this will release happy, positive memories and it will help you relax too. Because if we focus on the negative, we always get more of the negative. If we start to focus on the happy and the positive and have an attitude of gratitude, then actually we feel loads and loads better. And it's not Pollyanna, it's actually, really good research, and loads of studies have proven that an attitude of gratitude can really help you feel better. So this will help you tap back into what makes you smile, what makes you relax, and what makes you feel nurtured. Because as a parent, as we know, you're busy looking after everybody else. You might even have elderly parents that need taking care of, or a neighbour that you like to take care of too. So we're always giving, and we sometimes forget to nurture ourselves and look after ourselves. So I hereby grant you permission to banish the big G, which is the big G of guilt. So look after yourself first. Very important. One of the key elements, I think, to being a great parent. Let go of being a perfect parent. There's a picture or a photo or an image that I made ages ago around, not being a perfect parent, just be a real one. If you Google it, you'll see it's all over the place, because perfectionism is your enemy. There is no such thing as a perfect parent unless you're sort of Julia Roberts in a Hollywood film. This is about real life, doing your best, taking care of your family and taking care of yourself. So that's the biggest thing, I think. Let go of trying to be a perfect parent. So one of the key ways of helping to let go of being perfect is to get the kids involved, or your partner, whoever's with you, to delegate some of the tasks. Don't do it all. It's really good for children to have chores or to have jobs that they do, whether it's laying the table, bringing down the washing, emptying the dishwasher. Don't be a martyr. Get your whole family involved. It teaches them that we are a team. It teaches them that you are, working together, and that everybody has a part to play in the family. And then you stop being this kind of martyr, whining and moaning and complaining and nagging at them. Just make that a habit. And, the kids like it. Makes them feel capable and makes them feel competent. Get them to put away their own toys when they're little. Teenagers can actually work the dishwasher. They can actually bring down their washing and work the washing machine. They're very tech savvy, aren't they? So for me, it's about being open and confident and asking for help sometimes, and expecting your family to be a team, willing to pull together and help each other. That's what families do. So grab a pen and a piece of paper if you've got one, and just brainstorm all the jobs you currently do that really could be shared out amongst your family, and jot them down. This is called, in my book, nurturing your needs, giving yourself time out and me time, because that's a vital part of respecting yourself and valuing your very important role as a parent. So make a date with yourself and commit to making a couple of small changes to look after yourself and watch your confidence, your enthusiasm, your happiness and your energy flourish, blossom and bloom. And of course, your kids will thrive and blossom and bloom too. So here's tip 1. Make time for each other. This week, just look at one place that you can all come together to relax, to chat and to have some fun. Write it down, because I always think if you write something down, it gets done. We get hijacked by life, by things that need to be done, the unexpected. So writing it down that you're actually going to commit to doing it, spending time together and coming together as a family is important, and it will get done if you write it down. So write down the day, write down the time and be very specific about what you're going to do to come together. It's a bit like saying, oh, we must do coffee, and it never happens. But if you write down, I'll meet you at the Honey Pot Cafe on Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we'll have a cup of coffee, have you got your diary? You put it in, guess what? It actually happens. And it's the same with spending time and making time for each other. Do the same for your family. It's good for everyone. Tip 2, I've mentioned it before, eat together. It doesn't have to be every night, but perhaps, as I mentioned before, a Friday night wind down from the busy week over a takeaway, or chatting over Sunday lunch, which I've suggested. It's about making just some new traditions. Perhaps if it's sunny weather, you can have a bit of a barbecue in the garden if you're lucky enough to have a garden and some sunshine. It's just coming together and making time to eat together, because that's when you chat, when you laugh, when you learn about each other, and you just stay connected, which is really important. Family talk time. So when families come together, they share in each other's lives. They know what's worrying their children, as I've mentioned, and they know what frightens them, what excites them, and what makes them happy. So eating together for me is eating together for me is a very important way of staying connected with your kids. So what day could you sit down together to eat and chat, and be very specific? Tip 3 is to play together. Play is in danger of becoming a lost art for many families across the UK. But since we've been changing our routines, actually play has become centre part of family life. And I always say that the ing activities are very important. Playing, talking, listening, cooking, baking, cycling. You get the idea. Any ing activity is a really good thing for families together. And lots of research has shown that play is a vital part to the emotional, physical and intellectual development, as well as the well-being to your whole family. So coming together is really important, to just play. And it allows a child to be in charge, because sometimes when they're little, sometimes everyone's telling them what to do all the time. In play and role play, children can imagine, they can create, they can take the lead, they can imagine and work out little routines to things that might be troubling them. It also helps them learn about the world in which we live, and it also builds their self-esteem, because they'll often play at something that they know that they can do well, and that can build up that feeling of being successful. And also, of course, play builds social skills, which is also very important for children. And you mustn't underestimate it, really, because it's really a great way for children to feel great in their well-being. So it doesn't have to be hard work. It doesn't have to be complicated or boring. Sometimes you can play with your kids. Sometimes you can just set them up, sit with them for a minute is one of my techniques. You sit with them for a minute. They get engaged, they get going on the game that they're playing, and then you can get up and say, well, I've just got to, check on the potatoes or whatever you've got to do. But you've started them off. And that's often what some children need, just that kind of someone going alongside them. So never underestimate the importance of play, and just take a moment to pause to ponder, because you're building memories that will last a lifetime for them. And I know it can get a little bit dull when they want to play Ludo for the fourth time, because I remember that with my own daughter, and playing quick cricket in the garden. But my kids still talk about those funny times. So go out there for 15-20 minutes, have some fun playing with your children, depending on their ages, and connect with them, which is what it's all about, really. Tip 4 is read together. Hugs, cuddles, story time and bedtimes are brilliant places to bond with your children, no matter what sort of age they are. Obviously, teenagers are not keen for you to do that. You've got to find different ways to connect with your teen. But certainly young children absolutely love a bedtime story, because it's a time to cuddle up, relax, feel safe and secure. So reading with your children offers you also the chance to talk, to listen, to cuddle, to laugh, and to share good memories. And stories often offer you and your children a place to explore their feelings, because you can say, why do you think that little girl's feeling sad in the picture? Why is that little boy feeling very angry? So that gets them an opportunity to talk about their emotions and their feelings. And if you ask open-ended questions around story time, then you're going to get some fantastic answers and get kids thinking and connecting. We have to stay invested in each other to stay well. So whether it's going out for a coffee with friends, going to see your sister, or binge watching Netflix now and again with your partner, it all builds up relationships. And relationships help your sense of well-being, of belonging, of connecting. And it balances your life, and it's very essential for your mental health and takes down the pressure on yourself. So in a way, I see life as a bit like Billy Smart's circus. Do you remember when the clowns used to swing all those plates around and you have to keep going back from one place to another to keep them all going? It's very difficult to keep them all going at the same time. And you never, ever get it all absolutely right and they're all balanced. I want you to remember that. It's not easy to get them all lined up, but you do your best. And if you're mindful about each one, you can go along and make sure you're looking after me time, we time and our time, which is when you spend time with the kids. And as I say, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, so just be a real one and ask for help. We also need to ask for help if we're struggling. So many times people sort of fold their arms and say, well, I'm all right and I don't need your help. And we think it's weakness, but actually it's a strength. So many mums and dads I coach try to be super mum or super dad, and that's too exhausting and too overwhelming, and it's really impossible to attain. So parenting doesn't always come naturally to all parents, and we're all working it out and as we go along. I remember my dad saying, I said to my dad, I didn't know something. He said, well, Sue, I've never done this before. So, none of us have got all the answers all of the time. So be forgiving of yourself. Doesn't always come naturally, don't always know what to do, but there are people like me around to support you, nurture you with my parenting club and my webinars and all my quick win videos or my podcasts. So check some of my stuff out because it may help. Parenting requires patience, kindness, observation and understanding. And it also requires persistence, imagination, honesty, and of course, lots of energy. So it's okay not to feel confident about what you're doing all the time. It's important to ask for help if you are struggling in some way because, we live quite a long way away from grandparents or parents sometimes. And in the past, used to pop into each other's houses and have a chinwag and a chat and get some friendly advice from a friend or a neighbour or a relative. But sometimes that's a bit more difficult. But be careful where you get your information from. But do ask for some help sometimes if you are struggling. That is a strength and that's a good thing for your whole family. Now let's look at looking after your relationship with your partner, which I call we time. Happy couples have very positive effects on their children. You are a blueprint for love, and in everything that you do and everything you say, how you behave together, the children are learning about love from you. So that means it's important to nurture your relationship so you can both get the best out of being parents as well as partners. Open, honest and respectful communication can really help you cope with the relationship changes that come with being a parent. Because let's face it, there are lots of changes that come when you become a parent. So you'll be probably getting less sleep, less time to talk to each other and less time alone together. And this can really put pressure on your relationship and it can lead to short tempers, disagreements and sometimes heated arguments. And if we've been cooped up a bit for longer periods of time, then of course that puts you under pressure. So you can reduce these tensions by telling each other how you're feeling and finding ways to support each other. So it's important that you keep your relationship positive. You pick your battles and you set aside regular time and a place to discuss, not argue and shout, but to discuss your niggles, your worries or your frustrations so you pull together and you work out solutions as a couple. Set realistic expectations. Be understanding and forgiving of each other and supportive of each other. You're a team. And over the years, it can really make a difference if you spend time having fun together. Otherwise, you end up only a little bit apart, but then that can become quite a long way apart. You drift apart, and that's not good for you, not good for the kids. So, nurture your relationship too. Then there's our time, which I briefly mentioned before, where you do the ING activities, getting involved and active with your kids, because it builds memories that really will last their lifetime. It will build their self-esteem, it builds their confidence, and it helps a child feel supported, loved and nurtured. So as I've mentioned, it can be anything: exploring, building dens, singing, dancing, baking. Just look for simple activities that you can do together that are relaxing, that are fun and that are engaging. And I know teenagers, will moan about, oh, I don't want to do that. But actually, you get out the Jenga or something and you join in, and soon you're all laughing and having a good time. So don't let them put you off. Be all in enthusiastic and bring them along with you. And find out and ask kids, what would you like to do? And they don't always want to do expensive things. They just sometimes like to do the simple stuff. So ask them. It's called family fun time. I have a hashtag on Twitter, family fun. So check that out. Now let's look at tips to your well-being. Handling stress. Well, parenting is the most important job that you'll ever do, yet it's the least one that we get any preparation for, really. We go on antenatal classes and then that's it, really. We go on management to marketing courses, but rarely do people go on parenting classes. Often I see people fold their eyes and say, well, I don't need that. But, it's a skill. Raising children is a big, important skill. So it doesn't always come naturally to us, or we hit a hurdle, or we don't know what to do about whining, or we don't know what to do about, perhaps friendship issues or bullying or whatever else comes in the way in our lives, these hurdles that we come to. So it's hard work, and they come through developmental milestones. You might have a child with additional needs who may be on the spectrum, maybe autistic, maybe dyslexic, all sorts of things. And we need to get the right help and support. And sometimes the work that I do signposts people to all of these places through my parenting club. And I do podcasts where I interview experts from around the world. I think I've interviewed about 100 of them now, talking about all these additional needs as well as all the other things about parenting. So check out some of my podcasts on autism or dyslexia or brain development for children. So I've got on there quick win videos and podcasts and all sorts. But I think it's also important that you come together, if you can, with other like-minded mums and dads, sometimes online, often online now, rather than in real life, but often to get out, to sit outside, just have a coffee and a chat, and not necessarily to moan and nag, but now and again to let off a bit of steam. Builds that sense of community that we all need as well. And families need to feel part of the community, not just isolated with their own family. And, there can be lots of loneliness around being at home sometimes. Certainly in the past, when you're a mum and you're at home with a young baby, it can feel rather isolating at the beginning. And changes happen to us, and some of them are positive, but some of them are quite stressful. And, having a baby is really a life-changing moment. Kids turning into teenagers can be another. Children starting from their primary to their secondary school. I write a lot about that, and I've written a program about getting kids ready for transition from primary to secondary. All of these major milestones can add pressure to you and add sort of uncertainty. And so it's helpful for you to feel that you have a sense of control over your own environment. So go and get out there, chat to other people, connect, so you feel that you've built a sense of community and that you're not the only one struggling with, I don't know, homeschooling or, kids that won't do as they're told the first time. So let me have a look at signs that you might be stressed. Well, you might be worrying about absolutely everything. You might be drinking a little bit too much, or smoking too much, or taking drugs. You might find it hard to be tolerant with your partner or your children. That's a sign of stress too sometimes. You might have trouble sleeping. You might not be feeling well. Perhaps you have headaches or other aches and pains or tummy aches. Perhaps you don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning, really. Perhaps you're having thoughts of, well, I'm never going to get out of this mess or this time or this difficulty that perhaps we're going through or you're going through. And you might have a feeling that you're not managing everyday things like family routines and finances well. So let me give you some tips around simple stress management to help you to get to know what makes you stressed and perhaps some tips about how to handle it. So get a piece of paper again. and write down, even now or later, absolutely everything that makes you stressed. Get it out of your system, get it down on some paper. So it could be your child crying for a long time during the night might be stressful for you. It might be that it's important for you to be on time, and you might find it stressful when you see the clock ticking but the kids not getting their shoes on. You might love a really clean and tidy house, but you no longer have one of those. And that could be really stressful for you. So it's about writing down your triggers and then looking at different ways to handle them. So handling stress. Well, obviously, stress is a natural reaction to changes and challenges like those that come with being a parent. But some stresses can be healthy because they can motivate us, but too much stress can be very overwhelming. And if it's an issue for you, it's good to know some stress management tips and techniques, because sometimes it's a normal part of life that everyone has and it's not a bad thing. But, sometimes it can, as I say, overwhelm you. So what causes stress? Well, changes in your life, even positive ones, can be stressful, especially if you think you can't cope. Having a baby, as we've talked about, kids at home all the time, partners at home more than they used to be. As I've said, children turning into teenagers, all these major milestones. And then there's the everyday hassles, for example, getting your kids out of the door on time, doing the washing, doing the ironing, cooking dinners, getting to brush their teeth, do their homework. All these things are very stressed. So your body will probably let you know that you're very stressed because your heart rate might go up, your breathing might increase, or your muscles tense up. So sometimes it helps you, but sometimes it's not very good. So do be careful and look at ways that you can start to release your own stress. Look at what works for you in the past. Think about that and go and do some of those stress relieving activities. It could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be a walk, it could be a run. As we know, it can be all sorts of things. Because you know your own triggers, and then you might know actually what works for you in the past may be able to help you again now. Unhelpful self-talk. Positive thinking is very important, and talking to yourself inside your head positively really helps relieve the pressure. Sometimes we get used to sort of being negative about ourselves, about our family, about the situation. You say, oh, what's wrong with me? I can't get my act together. I'm a loser. I can't handle this. But you can help to change that unhelpful thinking, because that isn't really good for you. You wouldn't speak to a friend like that. So why would you speak to yourself? So look in the mirror sometimes, first thing in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, and say what makes you great, what makes you special, and what you're good at. Now, it sounds a bit weird, and most people think, oh gosh, that's a bit odd. But you start to do it, and you do it regularly every day when you brush your teeth in the morning, because that sets you up. That's actually an activity in my Can Do Kids journal for the children. Builds up your self-esteem, but builds up your positive self-talk, takes down the pressure. And if you do it regularly, you start to feel good. You start to blossom and bloom. No one's hearing you, so it's not showing off or anything. It's just being positive about yourself. And in the evening, do the same thing again with the attitude of gratitude. When you're brushing your teeth last thing at night, look at one thing that you're really grateful that went well that day. Because there's loads of research and studies to show that if you are good about being grateful, it really again builds up your self-esteem, your confidence, your well-being, which all takes down the pressure of modern day parenting. How about focusing on something that's important? That can sometimes, what you do well, what goes well, really can lift your spirit. And I want you to really commit to that this week. Right, let's have a quick look at anger. I'm mindful of how long I've been talking, I think. Everyone gets angry with their kids, of course, at some time or another. That's normal. It's healthy. But kids know what buttons to push, and they certainly do push them, but it's knowing what to do with your anger that's really important. If you find you're getting incandescently angry about all sorts of things, write it down. What sort of triggers are they? Is it something you could delegate? Could you ask for help? Because then that takes down your anger and it doesn't just stay in there. Because it's a bit like shaking up a bottle of fizzy pop. Where does it go if you don't take the lid off? It goes back in and causes dis-ease. So I'm a great believer in looking at your anger triggers, what causes you to feel so cross, and then make sure that you start to address some of those things and take responsibility for handling your anger perhaps. One simple technique you can do with the family is to say this technique. When you, I feel, because I would like. Because this teaches your children and your partner about empathy, and immediately it takes down the emotional charge about your frustration because you're asking them. So when you leave things on the stairs, I feel ignored and undervalued because I would like you to help me. I would like you to take up the stuff that I leave on the stairs when you go each time. That's sort of an example. So if you use that technique, that often takes down some of your anger. If you feel like screaming and shouting at your kids, then your own anger's probably been building up for quite a long time. So it's quite a good idea to maybe, I don't know, people release it in all sorts of ways. You hit a pillow, you go for a jog. Some people go and hit golf balls in the garden or they go to the golf club. You go for a good long walk. Some people play music and dance about. But it's a good idea to release the anger in a healthy way. I've written a lot about anger. I've got a podcast and I've got all sorts of quick win videos on my website about habitual anger, which is when you seem to be angry all the time, which is not good for you. And I'd like to help you look at the underlying causes to that, but that's for another time. So let's look at 5 ways, as we come to a close, let's look at 5 ways to well-being. Often life events are outside our control and that damages our mental health, puts us under pressure, and it's made even worse if we feel powerless to do anything about them. So one of the ways that we can regain a sense of control and nurture and nourish our mental health is to remember the 5 ways to well-being, which has been found by lots of research to improve the pressure that you might be feeling. One of them, and I've mentioned these before, one is connect to family, friends, relatives, your community, whatever it might be. Connect. Be active. Take notice. Keep learning and give. So connection, that shows, as we've talked about that, it's a fundamental human need to feel that we contribute and that we're coping well in the world. So well-being with this in mind is to make a connection. Reach out to a family member, reach out to the neighbour, talk to someone instead of sending an email. Speak to someone new. I ride my bike and I don't wear lycra. I've called myself the sociable cyclist. I don't wear lycra, but I say hello to everyone. And that's not mutually exclusive. It's just a bit of fun. But that's a great way for me to connect. Sometimes you have these really random conversations when I walk the dog and I feel connected and it lifts my spirit. It takes away some pressure off me. So put aside 5 minutes to find out, what you'd like to chat about. And it's really important perhaps to think about connecting with a colleague at work, maybe off Zoom, maybe on a phone call. I don't know, but connect. Look at ways to feel that you belong and that you connect. We've talked a lot, or I've talked a lot about regular physical exercise because that releases endorphins. Why not take the stairs instead of the lift? Why don't you go for a walk at lunchtime? How about organising an activity that you can all do together as a family? Simple things that help you feel active and moving around. Take notice. Reminding yourself to take notice can really strengthen and broaden awareness. Studies have shown that if you are aware and you're in the present moment, it can really lift your spirits and take away some pressure. So get a plant for the windowsill. Clear the clutter away a bit, perhaps. Take notice of how your family are feeling and acting so you can be supportive. Take notice perhaps of a different route if you're going for a walk or you're walking to work or your journey from home. Go a different way to create activity and interest and notice things on your journey. Perhaps you could visit a new place for a cup of coffee. Simple things that just give your brain a bit of variety. Also, continued learning throughout your life enhances your self-esteem, encourages social interaction and helps you grow and have a growth mindset, as people say. So sign up for a class, read the news or a different type of book. Perhaps you could set up a book club. I don't know. Do a crossword. Learn French. Research something you've always wanted to know a bit more about. Anything like that that keeps your learning and your growth mindset is good for you. And the other one is give. Give time. It's not about giving money. Perhaps it's about volunteering at your child's school to hear reading or something like that when that sort of thing happens. Get involved in the summer fete or the Christmas bring and buy. Set up a computer club for grannies or granddads. Do shopping for an elderly relative. You get the idea. But giving helps you feel better and takes down the pressure. So, taking care of your mental health and being a parent is pressurized, but I hope I've given you a few ideas, some simple tips to self-care. And I'm going to offer you this self-care challenge. What are you going to do to commit to today? And why don't you email me and let me know? Sue@thesueatkins.com. I hope you've enjoyed this chat. Please feel free to explore all of my resources. The Can Do Kids Journal for Children is bursting with all sorts of ideas for young people to build their self-esteem, build their confidence, build their resiliency. It's full of fun activities. And actually some of the activities in there you can do yourself. Kids can do it on their own, you can do it together, or actually some of those techniques and tips grown-ups find very helpful too. So go and check out my website. It's thesueatkins.com. Do check out my book for children. Do check out all the resources that I have available to help you. And do ask me any questions at all because I'm here to support, nurture and help you. Until next time, take care.
Hello, I'm here to answer some of your questions. Thank you. So, how can parents help grow their children's communication and social skills while social distancing? Well, you don't say how old your child is, but if they're young, say between 2 and 3 and 4, it's really important for learning how to share, how to play together, how to play outside, learning sort of things like that, which they can learn through talking, playing and listening with you. Yes, social interactions are very important and they do develop, but don't worry unnecessarily. I want you to think of your child's life as, 80 or 90 years they're going to live to, well, hopefully, and this is only a very small snapshot of their time in lockdown or just coming out of lockdown. So they are very resilient and they are very adaptable. So relax, I think, is the secret to that. And they'll enjoy interactions with you, with their siblings, perhaps even with their pets. And if they're a bit older, they will certainly enjoy the interactions with their older friends as well. So I hope that answers that question for you. Let's have a look at the next one. How can parents help their children prepare for in-classroom learning? Well, again, it's about taking their lead from you. If you are relaxed, if you are confident, if you are clear in what the schools say they are doing and how they're going to organise your child's day and back in class, then talk and teach your child about what the new rules might be. And perhaps you could role play them and practice and rehearse a little bit. But certainly relax around it, listen to their concerns. They might be worried about getting things wrong and explain that that's not a problem while everyone is learning it. Don't make them over anxious, but talk and teach them about, what the new way of new normal will be in school. Perhaps how they will have to wash their hands more. Perhaps they will not be able to share pencils and pens. Perhaps they have to play in a different way or eat in a bubble with their group rather than all together in the dining room. So I hope that helps with that question. How can you identify if your child will need help from a mental health professional, such as if you think your child is exhibiting signs of depression or general anxiety disorder, hypochondria or agoraphobia? If you are in any doubt at all about those very big things, then my advice is to go and seek advice from your doctor or your professional tutor or therapist at school. Ask the school if you're worried about any of those big things, but certainly go to your doctor and get professional advice. That's not something I can give you advice over just over something like this over a talk. So I do hope that helps. Another one says, since the lockdown, my 9-year-old child has become much more easily triggered and loses her temper in situations that she wouldn't previously have bothered her. She shouts, she slams doors, she's tearful and she's hostile. What can we do to help her gain more equilibrium, especially when she's struggling and I'm struggling myself to balance the demands of professional and domestic and home life? Very, very common at this stage. Children might be listening and hearing things, talking, from the television. They may pick up the wrong end of the stick. They may also be hearing you express your frustration or your anger or your worry or concern with your partner. And you generally need some me time. Go and get some time away from the children so that you can replenish your batteries. It's really hard work juggling children at home with working situations, worried about money, all sorts of anxieties. So I think the thing to do is to sit down in a relaxed way, maybe reading a book together, having a chat, or when you eat together, those normal kind of relaxed things when you might be out walking or walking the dog. Have a chat with her about what's worrying her. Listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and perhaps some of these displays of frustration and anger might be triggered by attention seeking because you're always working, always on your phone, or doing whatever you have to do, or they might be hiding and masking some real concerns and worries that you can reassure her with that aren't perhaps as big as she might think they are. So my advice is to listen and, try and help your child feel that the world isn't as uncertain, as scary perhaps as she may think it is at the moment. Because obviously those ways of showing her frustration and anger is that perhaps she's worried about something, or she might be a little bit bored. So it might be interesting to perhaps structure her day a little bit so she knows what's coming. And she's got things, small things as well as big things, to look forward to in the day or during the week. So I hope that helps.